Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
And welcome back to the Weird Science Comics YouTube channel, where I'm going to be going through the big event in all the land, Dark Web number 1. And I'm telling you right now, to be quite honest, I forgot all about this. It came out. I said, holy crap, it's out. Here we go. That is my mood going into this. I'm not dissing it at all. I just really wasn't hyped. I wasn't hating it or hyping it, whatnot. Just kind of right in the middle. And here we go. And I hope that by the end of not just this first issue, but by the end of this event, I'll look back at it as something positive. I'm hoping that it does my man Ben Reilly right, doesn't do him dirty, and ends up where he's at a better place by the end. But that's kind of one of the only things that I'm really concerned with here. But before we get into the issue, make sure you like the video, enable them their notifications, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you thought of Dark Web number 1 in the comments below. Here are the credits. Dark Web number 1 is written by Zeb Wells, art by Adam Kubert, colors by Frank Martin, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. With this event deal starting off, it seems that Zeb Wells is going to get people caught up on some things. And really what I think he's trying to do is catch people up on the motivations of the characters and give a bit of a roll call of the characters involved. You start out with a nightmare of Ben Reilly, who you see what he's all about. He's upset that he doesn't have all of his memories, and he feels as if Peter Parker is keeping them from him, but also laughing at him about it. He seems to think that everybody thinks he's trash, and that pretty much he feels like he's Danny DeVito in the Twins movie. Peter is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and poor Ben ends up being Danny DeVito. So you continue on throughout this book. It feels very, it doesn't feel forced, but it feels like an academic type deal of, okay, next we have to show this group of people and kind of show their connections and what they're up to, which we do go off to a weird party. It is it's so weird. Even look at the Harry Osborn birthday party, but dead clone party, where they end up having it at a coffee shop. But even this is to show people who may not be reading Amazing Spider-Man that, ooh, Mary Jane has a new family. Now, you're going to get the same non-information that readers, unfortunately, are getting in Amazing Spider-Man. What do you mean, Mary Jane? You have a new family? What's that all about? Well, I'd like to tell you, but I'm not. And we also see that, some people, including Mary Jane, are a little pissed off at Peter, that sort of thing. But you also then, because when Peter looks out the window, there is the old down and out, kick the can, sad Charlie Brown, Norman Osborn walking by the party. And so Peter runs out to talk to him, again, getting that status quo of Peter and Norman kind of being friends a bit. And Peter describing, or at least trying to console Norman, who is sad. It is his son's birthday. And his son, the last bit of the son he had was a clone that died. Peter starts to try to explain what that should mean. And it's weird because in the Spider-Man books, obviously, we've had a ton of clone stuff. It gets convoluted. It's all that. But Peter says, I look at the clones as not actually themselves. Like if there's a clone of Harry, it's not really Harry. It's its own thing. But the feelings that it has are real. And that clone really loved you, Norman, so you should be happy because a clone of your son loved you. Now, in that, you could read between the lines and get that idea of if he's thinking that, does he really think that of Ben Reilly as well? Oh, you're not really who you're supposed to be. But I think it also is that little twist and that little layer that if Ben would go to Peter and say, listen, you don't, respect me because I'm not you, I think Peter would just say, no, you're you. You're Ben. That's why I like you. You're Ben. And from the Beyond stuff, which Zeb Wells was involved with and was the big Ben Reilly bit, to this, there is a bit of a disconnect, especially because they kind of teamed up a bit there. And I really liked that. That's why I want by the end of this for Ben to get back to a place where they can continue to do that and team up and have some fun. But here we are. We're here in the story, so we have to go with this. Well, the talk does cheer Norman up a little, I guess. And he goes off to his office. And at that point, you do end up, again, having this roll call feel of all these scenes. You go back down the limbo with Ben and Madeline Pryor. They're down in limbo. You even get a little bit of the X-Men in this and the idea that magic ended up allowing this. Jean Grey's like, I'm still mad at you about that, but we do go back to limbo for a little roll call there. And we see that Janine is back to being Hollow's Eve. There's a mention that she wants to do the mischief and the mayhem, and Madeline says there'll be plenty of that. But by the way, I also have a bit of a wild card, and that is, behind door number 3, we have King in Black, Eddie Brock. And so you end up seeing, you're like, holy crap, like what happened? And it makes sense. If you're going to get Eddie, the only thing that is going to allow that is if you know information about Dylan, and Dylan's missing, and Madeline has pretty much, bargained with him. Hey, I'll tell you about this, but you have to be on our side. In the meantime, though, you can't really have a King in Black Eddie Brock doing this. So you have this, and it did feel a little forced, but you end up having this reverted Eddie that thinks it's more of the symbiote back in the day, and it's really classic Venom symbiote, tongue all out, all sexy, right? And with that, though, it felt a little silly with everything that has been going on for the past couple of years with Venom. It kind of felt weird, but you get it. I think people will end up enjoying that. I thought it fell a little flat with that, but we'll see how it develops. But again, roll call. You end up getting Hallows Eve, Venom on hashtag Team Pissed Off Clones. So there's sides being drawn here and things like that. But they are kind of disjointed because, again, you have the X-Men walking through New York City. It's holiday times. They're looking at things. You get Peter and all of his deal. You end up getting this team, hashtag Pissed Off Clones, all that. But you also have Norman, all that going on. So the next step is to cause some trouble to end up having everybody kind of jump into the fray. And that's what Madeline does. She ends up starting to play her organ in a non-sexy way. And that ends up, and there is this chant that she's doing that every time I see it, it makes my head spin. But it's Extus Tannenbraurum starts doing that, playing the organ, right? And all around New York City, inanimate objects start to grow teeth and mouths and horrific deals. And now we end up having them eating people, basically like a Komodo dragon. And if you know that reference, shout out to you, thumbs up. But all this is going on, and that forces the X-Men to jump into the fray. Spider-Man, Spidey sense goes, he jumps in, which then we go back to Norman Osborn, who, after that talk with Peter, has gone to his office and ends up seeing the news. Oh, there's crazy stuff happening. This looks like a job for the Gold Goblin. And he does end up looking like, maybe I will do that. Maybe I will, because it worked out last time I did it against Jack-o'-lantern. Everybody thought I was great. I signed some skulls for some kids. Maybe I can get involved. But he doesn't get that far because Ben Reilly / Chasm has shown up. And I like this scene specifically with the idea that with Ben, we've been centering so much on the memories that he lost, the memories that were taken, that you don't really think about the memories that remained. And the one of them is, or most of them seem to center around Norman. Norman's face keeps popping up in Ben's head. And he says, the bad memories I've left are all of you. You end up killing me, all that stuff that was, and I'm going to now take it to you, and I'm going to beat the crap out of you, which he does. He starts just beating the crap out of Norman. Thankfully, like in between panels, off panel, whatnot, you end up where Norman does get into the Gold Goblin suit, or I think he'd be dead. So that's big because I do like this Norman. Norman actually says, listen, I'm trying to make amends, and I'm sorry. I really am. And again, if this was another story, you might even have the, hey, you know what? I just lost my son, who was a clone. Maybe you could be my new surrogate son. Come on over here, sonny boy. But you don't have that. He beats the crap out of Norman. And then we get the big cliffhanger, which again, it's Venom. And he's like, where's that Spider-Man? I'm going to eat his brains. It felt a little goofy. It really did. It felt silly to me. But that's the whole deal. Again, in this issue, there is a Zamboni with a big mouth and teeth trying to eat people. So it's kind of leaning on the silly as well. So overall, it was okay. This is an okay start. It really just kind of gets you the people who are in it and their motivations a bit to go forward. So overall, I'm not as excited as I hoped I would be after one issue, but I'm looking forward and really laying a lot at the feet of issue 2 to get me going here. The art was good. And I want to see more of Madeline Pryor's plan, overall deal. But I said, I care about what happens to Ben Reilly. And the Venom moments were a little silly, but I think people will like them. All that is how I feel. But overall, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. And I want to hear what everybody else thinks of it. And please end up subscribing to the channel, liking the video, get notifications, all that. But really important, tell me what you thought of Dark Web number 1. But that is that. Thanks, everybody. And I will talk to you later.
Go read comics.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Weird science
is the revolution.